have a new series called Harana sa Dapit Hapon, which is one of our new activities and projects and offerings for 2015. Spend an afternoon listening to the best kundimans, and you just heard a balitaw, danzas, and other old-time favorites sung by our very best performers and talents. This is going to be held every second Wednesday of the month, starting March 2015 at the CCP Main Theater Lobby. And this is going to be free to the public at sunsets from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. And this was made possible because I have a generous cooperation with one of our CCP board members and also the founder and head of Tribong Pinoy Foundation, Mr. Danny Doloro. Please give us. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Tisay. I am Chris Villado. I am the Artistic Director of the Cultural Center of the Philippines. Good afternoon and welcome to the announcement of season 2015 of the CCP. We do this song and dance number every year to announce what's in store for us for the next year. So this afternoon we have with us members of our arts management team, our various partners, and artistic directors and executive directors of our resident companies. And with us in the audience this afternoon is our president, Dr. Raul Sunico, who, as everyone knows, happens to be one of our leading classical pianists in the Philippines. And he has in store, in fact, you will be able to see Raul on stage in a concert to watch out for next year in one of our piano concerts and one of our many of our gala events. But before I launch into what's in store for us for 2015, I just wanted to share some of the highlights of this year, the year 2014. Almost at this time of the year, last year, if you remember, we all experienced a terrible typhoon that devastated our islands, and also an earthquake just a month before Typhoon Haiyan struck. It was beyond everyone's imagination the kind of destruction it would, that the property and life would experience, and at some point, everyone was stumped in terms of how to respond to this. Artists responded in the best way they knew how, which was to do concerts and numerous fundraisers. At the CCP, these were the efforts that were done in terms of Typhoon Haiyan. The Philippine Philharmonic Orchestra participated in a big fundraising drive and joined other artists at the major concert at the Manila Cathedral in an event called Rise, Rebuilding from the Ruins. We started collecting donations from every show for at least 3 months after the typhoon and the earthquake struck. And we also asked for non-cash donations. Employees started to contribute by voluntarily having their salary deducted monthly for their donations. Students from De La Salle University and St. Benil did flash performances at the front of the CCP, asking for donations from the commuters. We hosted a couple of fundraisers done by independent companies here at the CCP, and we were able to raise, in terms of cash and goods, the amount of 1.2 million. And the donations went to buying materials to rebuild the schools. That was our focus. Buy shoes for school children, school supplies, books, especially art books. And at the same time, our arts education department went out and, together with psychologists, worked with teachers and students in stress debriefing sessions and what we call art therapy sessions in various parts of the disaster-stricken areas, namely Alang-Alang and Tacloban in Leyte, Basi, Marabut, and Gandara in Samar. And with us this afternoon is one of the people who led her team and spent so many weeks engaging with various communities, especially the children and their teachers. Miss Eva Salvador is here, who is our Associate Director in Arts Education. In 2014, one of our highlights was our Triple Threats series. Those of you who have seen this, is the second of a series featuring the leading men and women of original Philippine musical theater. And the idea of this, the aim of this concert was to show off our world-class talents in solo concerts which they themselves conceived. Just to show you some of the images, if you missed the concerts. Sheila Francisco, her concert. Michael Williams. And Vituina Escalante. For 2015, we are pleased to announce that Triple Threats continues, but this time we're looking at the people behind these Triple Threats, the composers who created the songs that performers sing and dance to. And we'll be featuring the works of three composers of original Philippine music theater, namely Jesse Lucas, Vince De Jesus, and Ronnie Fortich. Now, I'd like to call in, and for your listening pleasure, one of the songs that you might hear in the upcoming concerts in Triple Threats featuring the composers.
Walang tunog kapag ang luha'y pumapatak at ang pusong sumisigaw, walang nakakarinig at ang labing napipig. Gusto mong magsumbong, tahimik lang, tapos na ang damdamin ay isang tabi. Kahit magmakaawa, walang makakapansin. Patuloy lang sa pag-ikot ng mundong kaingay, habang narito ako, tahimik lang ang pusong bagong libing ay tahimik lang. La la la, la la la, kahit ang simoy ng hangin at ang mga kaibigan, tila lahat abala. Wala ni isang nakapunang ako'y itinulak at nahulog na, naturog na. Ang pusong bagong libing ay tahimik lang. Tahimik.
Sandino Martin, ladies and gentlemen, singing Vince De Jesus' composition, Tahimik Lang. Sandino is also part of another musical which I'll talk about later on, Manhid, which is going to be done in next year in 2015. And he also starred recently in his own film called Esprit de Corps, which was directed by an independent film, directed by Kanakan Balintagos, formerly known as Aureo Solito. Another big musical event that happened earlier this year was a musical review called Musical at the Main Theater.
Buhay mang ito sa panaginip na akong inaahas. Every child awake has cause to celebrate. Tingnan mo ang paligid mo. Tingnan mo. Tina ay kitina kung saan mo ang You wanna bet? Ano ba ito? Muli! Kalabas ng bayan, naroon ang kalayaan. Isa lang ang buhay mo, kumilos ka, gamitin mo. Yan ako'y gustong lasal. Ano na lang kapag hindi totoo? Ang himala ay nasa puso ng tao.
Chelsea, wait.
Why?
Can I please see you again?
Sasha, natatakot ako. Ako nagdidi, huwag kang mag-alala. Nandito naman ako eh. Ibig nito kay langit.
Na di sinasadya ang lingap mo'y hahanap-hanapin sa endang naglisay.
Musical brought together more than 500 of our best musical theater talents on one stage and brought excerpts of the most significant original Filipino musicals that were performed in the last 5 years. And it was a night where everyone was very proud of. It was a joyous celebration of original Filipino musicals. Proudly original and proudly Filipino. For the year 2015, we are in negotiation for mounting a grand reunion of Filipino artists who were involved in this international musical, which is still going on in West End. We will reveal the details much later or earlier in the year next year. One of our events and activities that we initiated last year was bringing the Philippine Philharmonic Orchestra to this beautiful theater atop the ridges of Mount Makiling. This is the PPO concerts, PPO Sunsets at Makiling, where we played to audiences from the UPLB community and the surrounding communities in a repertoire of pop, classical, and Filipiniana music. We hope to continue this Pops concert yearly at the same site. One of the launches, the major launch that we did this year was we launched the Center for Choral Performance, anchored by our very own Philippine Madrigal Singers, our resident choral company. The amazing project is brought the leading singers of various choirs all over the country. And they were trained in a one-week intensive workshop in vocal technique and even conducting, and they were showcased in a final grand recital which approximated a dream choir. And one of our main facilitators, and he's also the music director of the world-renowned music Philippine Madrigal Singers, is here, and Mark Anthony Carpio. Last year, Mr. Ryan Cayabyab, who is responsible for quite a few of our popular songs and our musicals, which we continue to hear and perform up to today, celebrated a milestone in his life, 60 years of life in music. And there were a number of concerts that were done at the CCP, and we thought it good to organize it in some kind of festival. To cap the whole celebration, Mr. Cayabyab, Mr. C, donated his arrangements of Philippine folk songs to the CCP, and this was recently recorded by the Philippine Philharmonic Orchestra. And I'd like you to hear, you'll be the first audiences to hear, a short section of what was done. This melody that you just heard will be part of a CD which has 10 tracks composed of various Philippine folk songs which we dearly love and are very familiar to us. And this is going to be CCP's Christmas gift to the public this year. We promise that you'll be the first to receive your copies. And the wonderful thing is that we're currently under negotiation with various institutions and companies who own the rights, because what we'd like to do is put this on the website and make this free, downloadable to the Filipino public and to the World Wide Web. Of course, the Pasinaya Open House Festival, which banners our celebration of the February Arts Month. This year was especially exciting for us because this was the first time that we panned out the festival to the different institutions on Rojas Boulevard, namely National Museum, the Metropolitan Museum, the Children's Museum, the Bahay Chinoy, the Intramuros Museum, 1331 Mabini Gallery. And in cooperation with the art jeepneys, we were able to ferry and shuttle our audiences, 75,000 of them who are watching at least 100 shows in a day, all over the different venues in Metro Manila. For 2015, there is a famous museum in Makati who wants to be part of it. So we are now figuring out how to begin to expand and infect the rest of the metropolis with the Pasinaya fever. The Pasinaya is one of our most successful experiments in terms of audience development and developing a broad-based support for arts and culture and the performing arts here in Manila, if not in the Philippines. One of our biggest challenges in this year's Pasinaya was how to ferry and assign audiences to ride the different jeepneys that will tour the different venues. We had to learn the system of jeepney drivers and the parkers who would fill up the jeepneys. And one of the persons who stood out in the sun, but of course that's one of his just minor responsibilities. His major responsibility was basically to put the logistics of this huge festival together with his team. Is Ariel Yonzon in the house? Ariel is our Associate Director for Production and Exhibition. And he's together with his team, he's responsible for putting together the logistics of the more than 300 shows that you see at the CCP stage every year. Cinemalaya. Of course, wasn't heard of Cinemalaya. This year we celebrated our 10th year, and it was a wonderful harvest of more than 100 titles that Cinemalaya has produced. Cinemalaya has also launched the careers of numerous young filmmakers who have gone on internationally to win accolades and awards from various international film festivals. This year, Cinemalaya is under rewiring, under refreshing, and if you're familiar with terms of software, we're rebooting it. And we'll make, as soon as details are there, we'll make the announcement of the new and the enriched Cinemalaya that we'll be offering in 2015. The Virgin Lab Fest is one of our most successful one-act festivals. Earlier this year, the tickets sold out 1 week before the festival opened. To accommodate the growing audiences and the growing appetite for original one-act plays, we have decided to make Virgin Lab Fest Festival in 2015 to run for 3 weeks instead of 2 weeks to accommodate the audiences. Earlier this year, we signed a memorandum of agreement with various CCP satellites. It is our objective at the CCP not only to bring shows to audiences who could walk in through our doors here at our building on Rojas Boulevard. We make an effort, if funds are available, to bring the shows to the far corners of the Philippines and even to the most remote, the remotest of locations. And this is possible through the help of partners in the regions, where we are setting up what we call CCP satellite venues. And we have signed an agreement with Malolos, with arts managers and arts councils in Batangas, Bacolod, Iloilo, Tagum, Region 10, and Baguio. And this year, we already were able to use this bridge or this network by bringing an important retrospective called Badong Designs the Stage to various venues across the islands. Badong Salvador Bernal Designs the Stage opened yesterday in Tagum City, in Davao. And as we speak, the exhibit is now open to the publics of Tagum in its last leg this year. An important aspect of this touring exhibit is the workshop, the scene design workshop, where we reach out to students and visual designers and graphic designers who are based in the region. Amazingly, this workshop has inspired quite a few designers to come out of the woodwork and has revived the interest in set design, specifically for the performing arts. And this design team is composed of our very own Eric Cruz. I'm not sure if he's here or still in Tagum. He's still in Tagum. And he's usually joined by our leading designer, Gino Gonzalez. And this logistical effort of bringing more than 30 maquettes or scale models, more than 30 mannequins and hundreds of costumes for display are organized by our team from Outreach, headed by our Associate Director for Outreach and Exchange, Ms. Chingay Bernardo. Is she here? Chingay is not here. Maybe she's in Outreach. Because of the resounding success of the Badong Bernal exhibit, we've decided to extend the exhibit for 3 more stops in early 2015. The Badong Bernal exhibit is going to Baguio, the UP Los Baños campus, and Pampanga. We also hosted a major tribute exhibit by 55 artists by displaying more than 55 of their works. They were directly influenced by the style of Roberto Chabet, who incidentally was the very first curator of our CCP galleries. This exhibit occupied all our major galleries, including the corridors. Next year, we will be featuring another major retrospective, this time by our own national artist, Ben Cobb, whose work is right here on stage. One of the works is here on stage. And another work, another major retrospective that will be exhibited next year is a retrospective on the works of Jaime de Guzman. This retrospective will be curated by our very own chair of the CCP Board of Trustees, Ms. Emily Abrera. BP celebrated with CCP its own 45th founding anniversary. And they had 3 major productions to celebrate and commemorate that anniversary. One was the production of Giselle with visiting artists from the American Ballet Theater. They also hosted a major reunion of different ballet schools under the tutelage of trainers and teachers who've been mentored by Ballet Philippines. They also presented a work, an omnibus work of various alumni who did choreography for the company. Ballet Philippines just returned from a very successful multi-city tour of North American venues, which was done in 2 weeks ago. Here with us is the Artistic Director of Ballet Philippines, Paul Alexander Morales. On February 2015, we are very excited to announce that Ballet Philippines is going to premiere the musical or the dance musical version of Manhid. It is described as the Pinoy superhero musical. It's set in an alternate present-day Philippines where the EDSA revolution failed. This musical features heroes and villains with superpowers and the people sick with kamanhiran or apathy.
Tahimik, talat karimlan, itong hiwagang hatid ng gabi. Simfonya, hunihangin at ulan, haplos ng paningin, diwata ng gabi. Naghabi, naglikha, ikaw ang aking panagipan, pangako ng alamat. Ang lihim ng awit ay ngiti. Dumihan ng paghirong pag-ibig. Ito ba ang pag-ibig? Naghihintay sa iyong ngiti, pangarap na marinig, panaginip masulipan. Mahiwagang kakit-akit, kapuna-punang mata, diwata ng gabi, naghabi, naglikha.
Ikaw ang diwata ng gabi,
Diwata ng gabi,
naghabi,
diwata ng gabi,
naglikha.
diwata ng gabi, ikaw ang aking
Panaginpan, pangako ng alamat.
lihim ng awit
Ay ngiti
at hagod dumihan.
ng paghilom,
Pag-ibig,
ito ba ang pag-ibig?
tahimik,
Simfonya,
kulisap,
Fred Lowe singing a song from the original Filipino musical Manhid, opening in February 2015. The song was composed by Kanakan Balintagos and accompanied the piano by Jed Balsamo. The production will be directed by Paul Morales and with choreography by Alden Lugnasin. We had a very successful run of the Orchestra and Symphonic Band Festival, which is a huge gathering of at least 5 orchestras in Manila and many more symphonic bands based in outside of Manila and even the regions. We hope to do this festival again after a year. This festival happens once every 2 years. One of our critically acclaimed revivals was Ballet Philippines La Revolución Filipina, choreographed and conceived by Agnes Luxin to commemorate the 60th centenary of Apolinario Mabini. In one corner of the building is our modest library, but that library is significant because it is the only library that contains the largest collection of audiovisual material. Everything that has gone on inside the CCP since its founding in 1969 can be found there in terms of audio recordings, audio documentation, and audiovisual documentation. We are now in the process of digitizing most of this material so that it could find its way into a future digital repository where the public can access. One of the projects of our library is to set up satellite libraries in underserved communities. And earlier this year, we were able to set up one such library at Smoky Mountain through the help of partner civic organizations who donated books, computer equipment, and even material to build a small library right in the locale. Our own head librarian trained their local librarians to run the library and to come up with a system so that children could have continuous access to books and materials. We hope to put up more libraries like this in other locations. Another workshop and festival that has been very successful was the National Rondalia Workshop, which brought together various Rondalia groups from all over the country. They went through various workshops headed by our master teachers in Rondalia, and what was wonderful was composers composed original work to be played by these various Rondalias. We aim to do this Rondalia workshop every year to continue to encourage and to stimulate the growth of Rondalia music and performance in the country. And with us is our head of our music programming and also the festival director of our festival, which we're going to talk about later, which is happening next year, Ms. Melissa Mantaren. New programs for 2015, what's in store? We are very excited to announce the launching of a very new festival, and we're calling this Performatura, the Spoken Word Festival. This is going to be the first time we're going to this festival. What is this festival about? This festival engages the written word with performance. So you will see poets collaborating with musicians, with dancers, with filmmakers, with multimedia artists to enhance the performance of poetry, even storytelling, and other forms of written literature. And the whole festival will showcase and span different forms from the traditional epics all the way to rap poetry, to hip-hop poetry, and even to what is known now as flip-top poetry. This afternoon, we will hear a sampling of what we might witness in Performatura, the very first spoken word festival.
Michael M. Corosa, ako po ay Makata. Mayamang mayaman sa tula at taba. Bagaman ang ama't ina ko ay mula sa Laguna, ako ay taong Maynila. Kaya po ang aking pananalinghaga, hinubog ng traffic, basura at baha. Ako po'y mayroong kabiyak ng dibdib at saka po 3 anak na makulit. Sa Galak at Lumbay, sa Tamiso, Pait, sa Marikina kami may dampang marikit. Bagaman ang buhay kung minsan ay gipit, kami maligaya't busog sa pag-ibig. Ako po'y lumaking ang napapakinggan, matamis na himig ng ating kundiman. Kaya yaring puso'y umaawit naman ng kundimang handog sa sariling bayan. Kay tamis mabuhay sa sariling bayan. Simoy ng amihan, himig ng kundiman, sa hardin ng bulaklak, ang bango ay matimyas, ginto ang liwanag, ligid ng paglingap. Nangyari rin ako, minsay, naging payat. At marami-rami ring dilag na nabihag. Naglaro, nilaro, ng batang pagliyag, humaplos, yumapos, nagdiwang, umiyak. Subalit may isang di ko nalilimot. Sa tuwing naiisip, puso'y nadudurog. Alaala niya, hindi malulunod, maglasing manakot, tumalon sa ilog. Kaya nga nang minsan, ako'y naglasing. Ano ang nangyari? Ang kwento ko'y dinggin. Anak, lagi kitang naalala, kahit napilitin kong limutin ka. Ang alak anilay, gamot pampalimot, epektibong lunas sa sama ng loob. Bisay talab agad, lagot lang ng lagot, hanggang sa manghinat ang diway mag-antok. Ano kung mag-amoy, chiko at magpungay, lumawat sa kalye, magpasuray-suray. Ano kung makita, ano kung husgahan ng makatatanaw, bigat ng dalahin, hindi niya alam. Kagabi, nagsayaw pati postek bato. Samboting nabasag sa paghalakhak ko. Nang tiyan ko'y halos pumutok na lobo, sinuka ko pati ang aking pustiso. Ay, Sana kagabi nang ako'y magsuka, napatapo na rin ang iyong alaala. Sa akin, ang tula ay buhay, ang buhay ay tula. Tulain ang buhay, buhayin ang tula. Sabi nga ng isang makatang na mayapa, ang buhay tila pinggan sa titig ng haraya, kahit na walang laman, nabusog ang makata.
Mike Corosa, mga kaibigan, Makata. At nais ko na pakilala ang nagiging Festival Director ng Performatura Spoken Word Festival, Ginoong Vim Nadera. Kasama niya rin ang pinakapulo ng ating, siya yung may pinaka-sexing title o pamagat ng departamento, yung Intertextual Division, si Hermie Beltran. We are also proud to announce that we'll be hosting the Asian Composers League Festival and Conference. Various Asian composers will be converging in Manila to perform their works here at the Little Theater and the main theater with our orchestras. These are contemporary works both for traditional ensemble and Western ensemble. Fringe. What is fringe? In 2015, a new type of arts festival made its debut in Manila and at the CCP. Fringe is the world's largest network of arts festivals, showcasing the talents of emerging artists and providing a platform for artists to engage with new audiences. In 2015, Fringe Manila will join that international network, and the CCP will be a major partner in helping stage this festival. Fringe Manila is an open-access, multi-art form festival showcasing Filipino and international artists across all artistic genres, including music, comedy, theater, dance, literature, and the visual arts. Being open access, Fringe welcomes all artists to participate. It's an uncensored celebration of culture and community, where artists at every level of experience are encouraged to present their work at venues across the city. The leaders of the very first Manila Fringe Festival are here with us, Brett McCallum and Andre Pamintuan. We are also very excited to announce that the CCP will be hosting the very first ASEAN Performing Arts Market. We enjoy our weekend markets of vegetables and food. The ASEAN Performing Arts Market will bring together our arts and cultural content providers, meaning theater companies, dance companies, performing arts companies, music performance companies in one venue, so that both buyers from within the region and outside the region could find out which content could be brought to their own venues or might be able to tour within the region and other parts of the world. So the programmers and artistic directors of major government centers located in the 10 ASEAN member states will be coming in. Some of them will be bringing their own groups. We will have a trade fair in the morning, an afternoon of showcasing of various companies and shows that might be able to tour. And they will also be witnessing the Pasinaya Open House Festival, which will be happening on February 15. The ASEAN Performing Arts Market will be hosted by various cities from then on. Manila is going to be the first host of the ASEAN Performing Arts Market. The Andrea Veneracion International Choral Festival started 2 years ago. There were at least 5 international choirs who joined in. There were at least 15, altogether 15 choirs that competed. Next year, we aim to increase the number of participating choirs and competing choirs Of course, anchoring the whole thing is our Philippine Madrigal Singers, who will be doing a special concert during the run. We are also arranging with various heritage sites in the city to become venues for special recitals of our visiting choirs. This is the Andrea Veneracion International Choral Festival happening in 2015. Neo-Filipino. If the term sounds familiar, the Neo-Filipino was conceived many years ago by various choreographers. The idea was to come up with a new vocabulary that engaged modern dance with the ethnic and the folkloric. And because of this engagement with both musicians, dancers, and choreographers, a whole body of work has come up which has become part of what we now know as Filipino modern dance. Next year, we're pushing and reviving the whole Neo-Filipino movement by featuring iconic works of choreographers. And hopefully in 2016, we aim to gather at least 5 young choreographers from all over the country for a full-month residency at the CCP to be mentored by our master choreographers so that they can create new Neo-Filipino works. choreographed by Alden Lugnasin and danced by Cyril Falyar, Victor Maguad, Earl Sevilla, and Lester Redundini. You will see this work together with other Neo Filipino works, works by Agnes Luxin, Denise Reyes, Paul Morales, among many other choreographers in our program called Neo Filipino. The festivals. We have our regular festivals, of course, the Earth Day Festival. We have a ballet festival next year, which alternates with our ballet competition, which just happened a week ago. Our ballet festival next year will focus on neoclassic works, which have Filipino themes and created by Filipino choreographers. Of course, we have the annual Gabad CCP para sa Alternatibong Pelikula at Video, which is a launching pad for most of the indie filmmakers who eventually join the Cinemalaya, Philippine Independent Film Competition. We put an emphasis and encouragement on music theater performance, and next year there is an awaited homecoming concert of Andion Fernandez performing original work of Jeffrey Ching with a Hong Kong music ensemble. We are also embarking on a major opera production of Tosca, which will have Korean conductor Jae-jun Lee as the music director. Tanghalang Pilipino is now doing a work in progress, a new musical on Mabini entitled Mabini Mandirigma, which is being written by Nicanor Chongson. Of course, the much-awaited touring production of the spectacular Disney musical Beauty and the Beast opens our musical theater program in January next year.
Disney's Beauty and the Beast, January 9 to 25 at the CCP. Sponsored by Globe Business. Let's make your business better. And Visa from Fox International Channels and Ovation Productions.
And here with us is the president of Ovation Productions, Mr. Renan De Guia. We have our conservatory program, the CCP Dance School, just opened 2 new studios. The Studio 1, which is found in one of our parking lots here at the CCP complex, and another one in SM Aura. The Center for Choral Performance, I mentioned earlier, the Actors Company continues to do its training as part of the Tanghalang Pilipino Actor Training. The Ramon Abusan Folkloric Group's Bahay ni Kuya Mon creates curricula for the teaching of folkloric dance, music, and performance in communities. And our music theater workshop will hold specialized classes of dance for actors, which will be done throughout the whole year. A resident company season. This is not a complete list. You will have the complete list in your press kits. Some of the highlights are the Philippine Philharmonic Orchestra will do a Halloween family concert near Halloween, near end of October. The Philippine Madrigal Singers will do 2 of its concerts. One is a February Valentine's concert entitled Kakakilig. I think the title is self-explanatory. And the next title is, can you help me read the title? The one who can say this in one breath will get complimentary tickets. So I will ask one of the Madrigal Singers to say it out loud. Mark Aber.
There's a missing syllable there, and Pokto.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to say. I understand that this concert focuses on on new folk songs, especially arranged for choirs. Ballet Philippines will do Sarumbangi, which is the reinvented classics. If you heard earlier the recording of Ryan Cayabyab, Philippine folk songs, some of these tracks will be choreographed by selected choreographers for Ballet Philippines. Tanghalang Pilipino is doing a new adaptation of Dangerous Liaison entitled Juego de Peligro, and their artistic director is Executive Director, is with us this afternoon, Mr. Nanding Joseph. By the way, Pangana Filipino's group production of Sandusenang Sapatos is currently in Beijing performing their children's musical Sandusenang Sapatos at the Beijing Theater Olympics. Outreach and training. I announced earlier that as one of the highlights of outreach, we will be extending the tour of Badong Bernal to 3 more venues next year. Our performing arts season, the Belgian Circus is coming to town and will be performing at the main theater. The Japanese taiko drummers will be performing too here at the CCP together with martial artists in a unique and novel night that combines both martial arts and percussion. We have a series of piano concerts, but we'll be announcing details of both national and international renown. Our media arts program. Our media arts program is the one in charge of programming our 100-seater cinema, which is located right outside of the Little Theater. Next year, we are aspiring to revive that space as an art house cinema. So we are doing a dense scheduling of different films, ranging from independent films, international films, archival films, and one of the archival films that will be featured will be the works of Lamberto Avellana for next year. Broadcast. We have 2 radio programs, Culture Carousel, which is anchored by Irene Rada, and Discarte, which is a weekend talk show engaging arts matters with everyday social issues. Special events. We have quite a few, but one important special event that's coming will involve not only the CCP, but all of us. If you haven't heard yet, the Philippines is hosting the Asia-Pacific Economic Council, and this is starting this December and will extend all the way till November next year. This partly explains the rush of infrastructure, road, sidewalk construction, which is creating horrid traffic for all of us. I understand this is part of the preparations for APEC, and the CCP has been tasked to lead the conceptualization and implementation of the receptions and the culture shows of the more than 18 APEC events that will be done all throughout the country. So together with our very own artists, we'll be presenting the best, the most innovative, the most creative works and showing the APEC community the kind of talent and the richness of talent that we have in the Philippines. Exhibitions. The 13 Artists Exhibition, which is a major exhibition and awards at the CCP, which has launched the mid-career, our visual artists will be held next year. The National Music Competition for Young Artists. This is our annual competition, which will be held in a week's time. And next year, they are set to do at least 3 major concerts, 1 reunion concert at the main theater, and 2 more concerts in other venues here at the CCP. And here with us is the Executive Director, Renato Lucas of NAMSIA, and the Program Manager, Luchi Roque. Arts education. We continue to do our master classes, workshops, question and answer, and behind-the-scenes tours, which are specially organized by our Arts Education Department. And by the way, if you haven't checked it out yet, if you check our CCP website, they're continually growing a wonderful resource especially meant for teachers and students that are designed specifically for the needs of the classroom. And you can find this is accessible and for free use for everyone to access. Attractions. We continue to enhance our tours at the CCP building. And finally, awards. Next year, we will implement Agawad CCP Awards. Agawad CCP recognizes significant contributions of artists to the various artistic genres. And some of these artists, if or not many of these artists, continue to become national artists. And the 13 Artist Awards, which I mentioned earlier. And this is the project which we are also very proud of and excited about, the Digital Heritage Project. Since 2 years ago, we started working on updating the Encyclopedia of Philippine Art. We started this project 20 years ago with a 10-volume encyclopedia documenting Filipino artists, body of work, history, and so on and so forth. It's the most comprehensive collection of database and facts about art and culture in the Philippines, put together by leading researchers and scholars in the Philippines. And this year, we are on the final stages of completing the writing, updating the entries, completing the research, and our next phase will be designing the digital platform. Yes, the first iteration of the encyclopedia will not be on print, it will be online. And it is our wish to make it again accessible and as much as possible free for public schools, state universities, and for every Filipino to use. And this is where we need your help. It will take us 45 million to complete the project. At this point, we've already mobilized 8 million. We have 37 million pesos more to raise to be able to complete this amazing database of arts and culture in the Philippines, which we believe will have a great impact to our public. So the more you write about it and the more you let our publics know about it, might reach some philanthropists or some of our even policymakers' ears so that they are able to see the value in putting money into this kind of resource. So I'd like you to hear the editor of the Encyclopedia of Philippine Arts talk more about this project. And he's none other than a former artistic director of the CCP.
In 1994, when the CCP Encyclopedia was published, it was the only encyclopedia on Philippine art. It was the only one that was able to compile in a comprehensive and systematic manner the different scattered data on the arts at the time. And since that time, it has been used by teachers, by students, by researchers, by anybody interested in Philippine culture. So the encyclopedia is an attempt to put together the most important artistic achievements of Filipinos through the centuries. The encyclopedia tried to represent in its entries the different cultural traditions of the country, from the ethnic to the Hispanic, to the American, to the contemporary. Also, it attempted to represent the culture of the different regions. Therefore, a wider concept of identity that would not be dictated by Manila or any center for that matter. A new volume is going to be added, which the first edition did not have, and this is the volume on broadcast arts, which would highlight the achievements of Filipinos in radio and in television in particular. This new version also, in keeping with the times, is going to have a digital version. It is hoped that this new encyclopedia is going to be as scholarly as the first and as systematic and reader-friendly, as the first edition. The encyclopedia has a staff of editors and writers who are most knowledgeable in their fields. These are people who have done original research in their fields, have published, and are recognized as authorities. In the new encyclopedia, teachers of all levels are going to find an important source book for information on Philippine culture. And now that we are publishing it, it still remains as the only encyclopedia on Philippine art. And I think we can also say that it is one of the very few encyclopedias on art around the world. No?
That's Encyclopedia of Philippine Art. That's Cultural Center of the Philippines also concerns itself with the welfare of artists. So next year, the Cultural Center of the Philippines will host a big fundraising gala for the Artist Welfare Project Incorporated. And this is going to be one of the rare occasions when you see our three major companies together on the same stage on a ballet gala. This ballet gala is led by the Philippine Ballet Theater, together with Ballet Manila and Ballet Philippines. And here with us is the artistic director of Philippine Ballet Theater, Ronilo Reinario, together with Marichine Pomoceno. Now, the reason why I've introduced our partners, our artistic directors, our arts managers, is so that hopefully this is just a start of our conversation that I know will last throughout the whole year, because we'll even come up with more exciting details as we go on throughout the year. So please, after this session, we all invite you for coffee outside, and if you'd like to approach any of us, any of our partners, please do so if you have further questions about their specific events. So once again, thank you for attending our season announcement for 2015. Thank you for listening. See you at the CCP the whole year. Maraming salamat and have a pleasant afternoon.